Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our continuing Zoom support group called The Better Husband. Tonight, we're going to talk about how husbands and fathers can be emotionally supportive to a wife and children. And this is the most crucial dimension of marriage. Where marriage lives is in the emotions, in the emotional support of an upset child or upset wife. And we are going to learn the technique, is the art, actually the art of emotional support, by doing some role plays tonight. Now, we have until this point learned the steps of consciousness, how each of us as individuals, as husbands and fathers, and an individual in our own right, can become conscious, meaning how can we become confident and present to be able to be in a position where we can be emotionally supportive. If we ourselves have hot buttons that we get upset about certain things, or we get criticized or hurt or nagged, then we're not in a position, if we spiral out of control emotionally and get hurt or go into our man cave or get sad or get depressed or anxious or raise our voice or have a temper, then we're not going to be able to be there for our wife or our children. We're going to be withdrawn. We're going to be isolated. We're going to raise our voices. So the prerequisite for emotional support is what we've been working on for the past 5 or 6 weeks. And that is the steps to achieve consciousness. And we said that there are 7 steps to achieve a state of consciousness. And they are: be aware, number 1, cognitively in our minds of our wheel of strengths. We know what our intellectual strengths are, our social skills. We know our midos, our character strengths. We know what our spirituality strengths are, our contribution to family and our personal growth. That's an awareness of our strengths, cognitively in the mind. Second dimension is, yes, now that you know what your strengths are, you have to feel it. You have to feel emotionally calm, emotionally present. We become intellectually present, but if our mind is present, but our heart gets upset or sad or depressed, we cannot be there. We have to have our mind and our heart, our mind and our emotions present to be there for a wife. And if we are depressed or hurt or insulted, and we're going to spiral out of control, then we cannot be other-centered. We then become self-centered because I'm in pain and I cannot be present or focused on the other. I'm just focused on my own pain. I go inward to my own pain. Therefore, we have to have an emotional equanimity, an emotional calm. How do we do that? We do that by going to our beautiful place. We go there to a river, to an ocean, to a beach, to a mountain, to Niagara Falls, to a waterfall, and we feel, or the place when I went fishing, or I felt I caught a great fish, or I scored a goal in my soccer game, or hit a home run in baseball. Not only a place, but perhaps also an event that happened, which made you feel accomplished. Go to that place, remind yourself, play that in your mind, that video in your mind of that accomplishment, and then you can say, yes, I'm emotionally present. That's the real me. When your mind and your heart are present, then you can reset your buttons and be present for the person who himself or herself is having a tough time right now. But if I'm emotionally discombobulated, if I'm confused or fun-cused or hurt or upset, I cannot be there emotionally for anybody. And therefore, this is self-mastery. So the prerequisite is to have a mental, cognitive awareness of my strengths. And we did the exercises. You can listen to these videos that I've posted before on The Better Husband, parts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we can go on learning that system. It's on an ongoing basis. It's not one and done. You can't just learn the wheel of strengths and emotional support, emotional equanimity, and then say, okay, I'm done. I got it. Because we're always going to be challenged. We're always going to be hurt. We're always going to be insulted. There's always a dialogue going on with us and our children, us and our wives, us and our boss, us and our colleagues, us and our neighbor. We're always going to get hurt. Therefore, we constantly have to review, always have to review this system of consciousness to be able to be present every single day. It's a constant work, a constant travail to be able to be emotionally present and be a master of ourselves. So the first dimension is here, cognitive. The second dimension is emotional. I go to a beautiful place and I feel safe. I feel calm. I feel inspired. I feel focused. I feel uplifted, enlightened, free, liberated. So I can be mentally and emotionally present. The third step is consciousness. Consciousness is the circle of control. Well, I cannot control my wife, what she's saying right now, but I can control my reactions. I cannot control my child having a tantrum in the third row of the checkout counter at the shopping center. And I'm very embarrassed. And I may lose it and say, what's the matter with you? You're embarrassing me. However, if I remain calm, go to my beautiful place, my mind, I'm intelligent, I'm a problem solver. Go to my beautiful place, I am calm, I'm a leader, I am a teacher. 1 second. Realize step 3 in the hands and the body, that I am able to control my reactions, that I won't lose it. I won't raise my voice. I won't make a scene in the shopping center or in the checkout aisle. I will just go, listen, sweetheart, when you're finished, we can move on, right? When you're done, right? Or come on, sweetheart, or bend down and give him a hug. We can control the situation by controlling ourselves. We can't control the child, but I can control my reactions. So the 3 steps are mind, heart, actions. Wheel of strengths, emotional, calm, and action calm. My body reacts by dealing with the situation. That's the system. 3 steps, 1, 2, and 3. Mind, heart, actions. But then there's steps 4, 5, 6, and 7. They are the attacks to the system. Thoughts attack me. Say, you're no good. You didn't take out the garbage. You didn't bring enough money this week. You're, not an emotionally supportive husband. Your thoughts attack you from the past. So we learn in step number 4 how to put the thoughts on the thought highway and let them go. Step number 5, cognitive distortions. We say to ourselves things like, you're a loser, you're a mess up, it's my fault, I'm no good, my bad, right? We say that to ourselves, and we often say it out loud, trying to attract some sympathy or empathy or some modesty or false modesty, saying, oh, it's my fault, my bad, I'm terrible, looking for some sympathy from our child or from a child or a wife. That's not the way to do it, right? Because that's a cognitive distortion. I'm bad, I'm no good, I'm a loser, right? So we have to change that distortion into a positive mantra. And then step number 5, on the previous videos, we've learned how to do that. Step number 6, yeah, but my inner child from my past said to me that I was left out. I'm not popular, not smart enough. I'm not the popular one in the family. My sister or brother, they were bigger or better than me. So therefore, I'm just a loser, right? And I feel emotionally bad. So that's the next step, is there's 2 attacks of the mind, thoughts and distortions. That's 5. That's number 4 and 5. Number 6 is the inner child. Oh, my childhood. I was beaten up. I was criticized, judged, put down. I was told I was no good. I have a client right now who was told growing up that she'll never amount to anything, that she is FS, 0, you're a nothing. And when she graduated from nursing school, her father said to her, you're the surprise of my life, that you actually graduated something. That was his graduation present to his daughter. How painful that all his life he was putting her down, perhaps, I don't know, whatever reason. Perhaps he was not feeling good about himself, had to put her down to control her, or because maybe another sibling was better than her, perhaps. But he did not know how to parent. And he put her down and she felt nothing, 0. Now she has children of her own and she feels blasé about life and down about life because she makes mistakes sometimes. So she puts herself down. She's taken on those words of her inner child. She's become that inner child. So the person who's controlling her is her inner child. So we have to learn how to heal the inner child. How do we do that? That was step number 6 that we did in our 7-step program, which you can listen to. It's how to heal the inner child. And step number 7 is how to change our behavior, which is to choose love over fear. Fear is a lack of value. I fear I am not valued. I'm not good enough. Love is I love me because I know what my strengths are and I'm going to use them to be in service of my family, my community, and myself. And perhaps if you have a higher power, to believe in God, to serve God. So therefore, these are 7 steps: mind, heart, action, steps 1, 2, and 3. Then the attacks to the system, thoughts, put them on the thought highway. Number 5, distortions, correct the distortion. Number 6, inner child, and correct and heal the inner child. 7, choose love over fear. Once we are working on, you don't have to master those 7 steps. Once we know the 7 steps to self-mastery, and we can work on them very, very quickly. Instead of teaching each one in 1 hour, which we've done until now, each step was 1 hour of learning, of studying, of discussion, of how to gain mastery over the self in each of these 6 or 7 dimensions. Now we can work on them in 5 seconds. Oh, mind, heart, actions, mantra, got it, inner child, love, got it. I can reset myself very quickly if I learn and have learned and I'm working on an ongoing basis these 7 steps. Once I know I can work on them and I can reset myself after an insult, after a hurt, then now we can begin to be emotionally supportive. Now, at least for the moment, I can be emotionally other-centered by listening to what my wife has to say or my child has to say. But if I am hurt and my mind is elsewhere, I can't be present for my wife or child. So therefore, these 7 steps are the prerequisite, the precursor to being able to be a successful husband. That's why I wrote the book called Like Yourself and Stay Married. It's also contained in my book. Here it is. And I urge you to get it on Amazon.com. It's called Like Yourself. Like Yourself and Stay Married. The key, the unlikely key to marriage success. Why is it the unlikely key? Because no one talks about the idea of self-esteem being the key to marriage. I've also written about it in my book called Stay Woke and Ignite Your Soul. Your life matters. The 7 steps are here in a general way with a study of how this system works by being emotionally supportive, by going through some various examples and life examples of different people who I've treated and dealt with in different groups of how to gain that reset button. So now I have sent to our participants, and anyone who wants to receive this handout can write to me. It's available on my website at yisraelroll.com under Wheel of Strengths. You can get it on the Wheel of Strengths is step 1, and it's under this category called emotional support. So under the section under the links called handouts, you can click on handouts and find the Wheel of Strengths. You can also find the present handout we're going to work on right now called this a document called emotional support. And I'm going to read different parts from it. I'm going to ask some of our participants who are with us today live to do the role playing. There are certain role plays we're going to talk about here in today's session. And I would like everyone to listen and follow along to the role plays by clicking on the link on the homepage at yisraelroll.com and follow along with this dialogue. So let's look at the handout on page 32. And on the right side of the page, I'm going to read the first incident, the first role play, which I'm going to do myself. And then we're going to ask our participants to join in section 2. So here's it going. Here we go on page 32, the right side of the page, the indented paragraph. Ellie comes in from school looking sad and dejected. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" asks Mom. "Nobody likes me," replies her son. "What do you mean?" demands Mom. "Everybody likes you. Danny likes you. Leah likes you. Sarah likes you. Nathan likes you. And Daddy and I like you most of all." Now that sounds like a typical response that you and I would give. We tell the child, "That's not true. Everyone likes you." And we try to contradict the child and say, no, we love you. We want to reassure the child. According to the system I'm presenting today, called the system of emotional support, this was a mistake. What is the right way to do it? Let's listen. Reading on. Poor mom. She just can't tolerate Ellie's negative feelings without even recognizing her own fear and panic. She's in fear of her own feelings of rejection and therefore says to the child, no, we all love you. But what she's really projecting is her own pain, saying, no, I'm in pain. I'm not liked. I'm rejected from my childhood or in my marriage, perhaps, or even in my friendships. And I don't want to feel or face that. So you're bringing it up for me. So don't talk that way. Why? Because I'll have to face my own pain of rejection. So the mother then tells the child not to worry about that and to reassure her that she's okay. So without recognizing her own fear and panic of her own rejection, she tries urgently to talk him out of his feelings. This is not emotional support. Emotional support involves listening and accepting. What mom should have said when Ellie said nobody likes me is, really? That's so sad. I can see you're feeling really badly. With this sort of acknowledgement and acceptance, Ellie probably would have gone on to explain that he had a fight at school earlier that day and he feels so rejected. Most likely, he would then be able to do some problem solving with mom after his emotions were released. Here's the key. First, you have to acknowledge the feelings. Go to where the child is and then understand the child's feelings so the child feels understood and accepted and that the feelings are valid. It's okay to feel that way. I know you're sad right now. And once the feelings are released, then we can go on to problem solving. Like, well, maybe you can tell the teacher, maybe you can tell me about it, in fact, you're telling me about it, or can you go to the principal, or can you stand up for yourself, or let me teach you karate, let me teach you how to stand up for yourself and fight. So we can go to problem solving only after the child knows that you're on his page emotionally. While acknowledging and accepting Ellie's feelings helps to release them, offering reassurance, saying we all love you, mommy loves you, daddy loves you, Nathan loves you, Leah loves you, offering that kind of reassurance increases insecurity. It makes the situation worse. That's counterintuitive. I would have thought that reassuring somebody says, oh, I love you, come here, let me hug you, you're okay, is actually the right thing to do. It is not the right thing to do. This is counterintuitive. Hugging the child or naming all the people who like him for the moment distracts Ellie momentarily from his inner reality. It does not, however, remove the bad feelings. Bad feelings must be released, not covered over. When covered over with reassurance, the bad feeling is suppressed, stuffed deeper down into the personality. The clue to this syndrome is hearing yourself say, no matter how often I reassure her, she keeps coming back with the same concerns. Indeed, reassurance itself reinforces insecurity. Now, this system I'm sharing with you today is a system which applies to fathers and children, but also to fathers and wives. And these terms that we're using here, when we talk about a child, or having this dialogue we're about to go into right now about a child, just use the same dialogue with a wife. Now, the context is different, as we're about to see. The context is a child's context, but the same principles that are involved with giving emotional support to a child are exactly the same principles of how to give emotional support to a wife. So don't think it's only applicable to children. It also applies to wives. Let's turn to page 36. That emotional support increases cooperation. Sometimes a person needs to teach a child something. Teaching can only occur in a teaching moment. Now, with a wife, we're not teaching a wife anything. Don't make that mistake that I have to teach my wife how to behave. No. Rather, connecting. For a child, it's teaching a child something. With a wife, it's connecting with the wife. Being on the same page, working it out, negotiating, mediating. That's called, but you cannot do that. You cannot negotiate and figure things out with a wife until the emotions of the wife are released. We're going to learn how to do that right now. Emotional support helps calm a child or a wife and ready the child or wife to listen or connect. But it does more than that. It actually creates a learning condition or an opportunity for the wife to heal herself. Let's look at the difference between the following two dialogues. So now we're on page 36 and the handwritten note number 2. I'd like to ask our participants to, let's go into this dialogue and play out the role play child and parent and see how not to do it. We're going to do it in a moment, how to do the correct way to do it. But right now we're doing role play number 1, which is how not to give emotional interaction with a child. Please can our participants now unmute themselves, and please go ahead with child parent.
I'm not going to take any more swimming lessons. I don't like it anymore. Anyway, I know how to swim already.
You need to get stronger in the deep end. I still want you to continue lessons.
I hate going.
Well, you have to go until I feel you're safe.
I'm not going.
Now, we can identify with that, right, gentlemen? Because that's kind of the struggle that we try to get the kids ready on to go to school in the morning, or do their homework, or take a shower, or clean up their room. It doesn't work. It's cool. We're going to go head to head. So this kind of dialogue of overpowering the person, overpowering or demanding or domineering is not going to work, not with a wife and not with children. Let's move on to the top of page 36, right side, and let's redo that dialogue, and let's see how we can do it with emotional support. This is different, same child, same parent, but now we're going to do it a little differently, and we're going to learn the technique of emotional support. Let's go ahead, child and parent.
I'm not going to any more swimming lessons. I don't like it anymore. Anyway, I know how to swim already.
Sounds like you're tired of your lessons. They aren't fun anymore?
No, I don't like the new teacher either.
Oh, that's frustrating. It's not much fun to go when you don't like the teacher. The problem is, I want you to get a little stronger in the deep end. I want you to be perfectly safe in the water, and I'm not comfortable that you're quite there. Probably 1 or 2 more sessions will be enough, but I don't want you to stop until I know you're really safe.
All right, but just 1 or 2 more sessions, not more.
Okay, we'll keep it to that, as long as you pass the deep end test, okay?
Okay.
Reading on in our dialogue in our text. Keeping in mind that dialogues in books are only dialogues in books. They don't really turn out that way or unfold that way in real life. These 2 conversations we've just role-played do illustrate an important aspect of the parent-child and the husband-wife communication. We try to teach a child something before we've done emotional support, or we try to connect or to figure out something with the wife before we've done emotional support, we are wasting our breath. The conversation will feel like a struggle or outright fight. The child or wife feels unheard and not understood. Until the child or wife feels heard, she will not be ready to listen, learn, cooperate, negotiate, mediate, deal, figure out anything. So this is a waste of time, trying to negotiate or trying to solve the problem without having done emotional support. It's a very big secret in interpersonal relationships. Then we're wasting our breath. Therefore, always use emotional support before teaching or instructing an upset child or calming a sad, depressed, hurt wife. And that will then lead to something called emotional release. To further understand why this is so essential, consider the following. Now let's turn to the next page, page 37. Parent and child, or husband and wife, form a train. The parent is the engine, or the husband is the engine, or the wife is the engine, because sometimes we gentlemen are upset or sad about something that happened at the office, or a financial challenge, or being overwhelmed by someone else gets promotion over us, or one of the children disses us and we feel upset and hurt and we feel down. So it doesn't mean that the husband's the engine. It could also mean that the wife is the engine and the husband is the caboose. But in this example, the parent is the engine and the child is the caboose. So the engine is there, but a little ways behind him is the caboose, an upset child or an upset spouse. The two parts are arranged like so. They are connected, the engine in the front, caboose behind. Suppose the parent or husband tries to teach a lesson or give information or instruction or to connect with the wife without first providing emotional support. What happens is that the engine moves down the track alone like this, where the engine and the caboose are separated. Lecture, 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 boring, boring, boring. And we see this, don't we see this mostly in the faces of our teenage children. They do this, right, gentlemen? Does this look familiar? Rolling their eyes, making a snorting sound, going, oh, get me a life here. Get me out of here, right? Because the parent is trying to do something and the child says, get me out of here. Lecture, lecture, lecture. If the engine wants to bring the caboose with her, if the engine, the husband or the father, wants to bring the child or wife along with him, he must first back up to where the caboose is, hook on, and then proceed down the track together like this. You have to hook on emotionally by understanding the pain, understanding the concern, being there for the person, and then hooking on and then bringing the person with you. Backing up to where the child or wife is and hooking on, which is called bonding, is the act of emotional support. When the child or wife is securely attached, meaning she feels understood, the husband can then teach, inform, instruct, mediate, discuss, problem solve, and hope to be heard. Without that attachment, the husband, is talking to himself. The child or wife remains isolated, feeling misunderstood, abandoned, and the wife would often say to us, and I'm sure that you've heard this before, you really don't understand me, you don't get me, you're not there for me, you're not really on my page, you don't understand the process. I've heard that many times in my life. So the child never processes the husband's words or the father's words of wisdom, nor is interested or inclined to cooperate. Rather, the child or wife remains stuck on the track. So we have to learn the art of emotional bonding, emotional connection, emotional understanding. And then when we hook on, then the feelings of the wife or child can be released. And then we can move on to problem solving. Let's go into another dialogue now on the bottom of this page, bottom page 37, and read on about emotional support soothes upset feelings. And we're now about to do a second dialogue. In addition to helping a child or a wife to cooperate or to connect or to problem solve, emotional coaching, emotional support can help them resolve feelings of frustration or unhappiness and enable them to accept compromises and consolation. Examine the following two dialogues. In the first conversation, the parent answers by stating the facts and omitting any acknowledgement of the child's feelings. In the second conversation, however, the parent reflects the child's feelings using emotional support and then engages in problem solving and note the differing results. Let's go with, on page 37, handwritten note number 3 on the right side. Let's do the dialogue, child and parent.
Why does Becky get to go out with you and I never get to go? It's not fair.
I'm just taking Becky to get some shoes. We'll be back very soon.
I want shoes. You never get me any shoes.
That's not true. I get you shoes when you need shoes. Right now, Becky needs shoes.
Runs away and slams the door. Well, did that work, gentlemen? Did not work. Why? Because, in Dragonet, where the man says the wife, the woman is all hysterical and all upset, and she's, very upset about what the crime scene, and he says to her, just the facts, ma'am, just the facts, right? But what we're trying to do here in this example is just the facts, man, just the facts. I'm going to get shoes, and you can't go, and that's all there is to it, right? Well, that's draconian, that's old school, that's not understanding emotional support. That's just overbearing, demanding, domineering, and just being a stick in the mud. Let's go on to the second dialogue here. Let's correct that dialogue now. Replay that again, child and parent, and let's do it the right way with emotional support. Go ahead, please. Child and parent.
Why does Becky get to go out with you and I never get to go? It's not fair.
You don't like that Becky's coming with me and you have to stay home right now. You feel that it isn't fair. You want to come too. You're upset with mommy.
Yes, why can't I come? I want to come.
Yes, you really want to come. I can see that. And I'd like your company too. It's just that Becky needs to get some shoes, and it's hard for me to get her shoes and look after you at the same time. I know it's disappointing for you not to be able to come. What if I bring you back some bubble gum from the candy store? Would that help at all?
No, I want to come. You never get me any shoes.
Oh, you just want to come. Bubble gum won't help, and mommy never gets you shoes. She only looks after Becky. That's sad.
Yes.
Yes.
What kind of gum?
I was thinking of your favorite, red bubble gum.
Can I have 2 pieces?
Yes, I'll bring you 2 pieces. We'll be back very soon. Bye-bye, sweetie.
Excellent. When feelings are accepted, let's mute ourselves again. When feelings are accepted, that's sad, or that's hard for you, or that's difficult. I accept those feelings. They clear, leave the system, and vanish. The way to change a feeling is to accept it. There is no other way. Once the painful feeling leaves, solutions can be found. Now, one thing that the parent did in this second dialogue, which was excellent, was the tone of voice. The tone of voice the parent used here was soothing, gentle, understanding. Oh, that's sad. Rather than saying, oh, that's sad, too bad, kid, right? That's cold. If you want to be emotionally supportive, you have to use words and a tone of voice, which is warm and soothing. And it's very important here to, a very important note here is that in this dialogue, when you said, mommy never gets you shoes, or you're mad at mommy, right? Here's a crucial point that we as husbands and fathers need to know. When a child is angry at us and saying, I'm mad at you, Dad. You're not letting me go to that weekend and I'm mad at you. Or you never do anything for me, Dad, right? So we usually get hurt and we say, oh, I'm a failure, right? Or we say, don't you ever talk to me that way. So that's a chutzpah. How can you talk to me that way, right? So we get angry at the child when the child gets mad at us or says, I hate you, Dad, or you're a lousy parent and I'll never be a parent like you when I grow up. We get mortally wounded when we hear that from a child. So we either get angry at the child or we withdraw and go to our man cave. In this dialogue, the parent said, oh, so you don't like me right now. Oh, I get it. The only way a father or husband can say that to his child or to his wife, and his wife says, I'm really, really angry at you right now. I really don't like you right now. I would do an untrained husband, a low self-esteem husband would say, you don't like me? We're getting a divorce. That's it. We're done. I'm out of here. Goodbye. Don't like me? Huh. Well, I don't have to stay here where I don't feel safe. I'm out of here. But if I have worked on my 7 steps of consciousness before I got to this dialogue, and I do it every single day, I'm working on myself going, go to my soul state, go to my wheel of strengths. I can't control what she says. 1 second. When she says, I hate you, or the child says, I hate you, Dad. Reset myself, go to my soul state and say, I understand that you're upset with me right now. How can I say that? How can I stay in the game when I'm being attacked like that? When I'm being criticized? The answer is when I go to my soul state and I realize I'm okay. I don't need anybody's approval. I don't need my wife's approval. I don't need my child's approval. I give myself approval. How do I do that? By going to the 7 steps of consciousness. I know my strengths, my intellectual, social skills, my character strengths, my spirituality, my family contribution, and my personal growth. I know that I can go to my beautiful place. I've had positive experiences. I know that's outside my control what they're saying. I reset myself and say, I'm okay. You're upset right now. I hear that. I understand. I'm good. Let's talk about it. I'm really sorry that you're upset right now. I don't have to be afraid of a so-called criticism or attack saying, I don't like you, or you're mad at me right now, or you hate me right now. That's a very, very, and in the moment, we can talk about it now, but in the moment, it's very, very difficult to withstand that kind of attack, that kind of criticism, that kind of saying you're no good. Very, very powerful, very, very poignant, very difficult to withstand. However, that's why the 7 steps of like yourself and stay married are so crucial. You have to like yourself no matter what. You cannot come into marriage with a broken self-esteem. And if you did, then you can learn to heal it by doing the 7 steps of emotional support for yourself, the 7 steps of consciousness, which are in my books, Like Yourself and Stay Married, or Stay Woke and Ignite Your Soul. Your life matters. So in those ways, we can learn an ongoing basis to heal ourselves, to feel good about myself. And I'm allowed to say, well, you hate me right now. Wow, that's very powerful. You're very, very angry at me right now. I can stay in the game if I like me. If I don't like me, if I'm a wounded person, if my inner child is controlling me, I am not going to be able to be emotionally supportive and not be able to work through this. And I'm going to blow up, spiral out of control. World War III will ensue, whether it's my child. I'll never be able to talk to my child, can't talk to my kid, can't talk to my wife, and a big divorce kind of conversation. Well, I'm getting divorced, you're getting divorced, big D word, out of control. So that's why it's so important for us as husbands and as fathers to be able emotionally, to have emotional calm, emotional equanimity. How? By liking myself. Well, like myself in the midst of that kind of attack? Yes. You know why? Because people get upset. I'll share with you a story. I was in synagogue Friday night, and my child was 5 years old at the time. He's getting married next month in Miami, God willing. He's 25, but 20 years ago, we went to synagogue Friday night, and it was a particularly challenging time because he has a 10-year-old brother, at that time, 10-year-old brother, 5 years older, but the 5-year-old was terrorizing the 10-year-old. He knew how to get after that 10-year-old, and they were fighting all the time. So I had to discipline or try to discipline the 5-year-old, and at that time, as a young parent, I didn't know what I was doing. I've learned since then of how to do it, and that's why I'm sharing with people. So, and with you now. But I was so upset, and I was disciplining and putting him in timeout, and that was the wrong thing to do, which I'll talk to you about parenting later on, and you can listen to my course called Self-Esteem Parenting, which is available on my website called yisraelroll.com. 28 videos on how to do self-esteem parenting, which I learned the hard way. But we went to synagogue Friday night, and after walking out of the synagogue, the rabbi of the synagogue came over to my little 5-year-old, put his hand on his cheek and said, "Just sweet boy, what's your name? Where are you going to school? Oh, welcome to our synagogue. That's so nice." So it was such a sweet interaction. Walking away from that interaction, I was holding my son's hand. The rabbi had moved on somewhere else. And my 5-year-old son said to me, "Could he be my daddy?" I was devastated, broken. Now, at the moment, I said to myself, it's only because he's loving to him, and I am disciplining this child, and I'm trying to get him to behave with his brother, so he doesn't like me. Well, I understand that, but later I was a mess. I held it together for about a couple of hours, but later that Friday night, I told my wife, "I'm just a mess up. I'm a loser. I'm bad. My child wants to have someone else as the father." I was totally broken. It took me a week to recover from that. Right? Can he be my daddy? Oh my gosh, I was destroyed. So that's why, because I realized I need to build my self-esteem. That's why one of the reasons why I've embarked upon my career of helping to build my own self-esteem and teaching other people how to build their self-esteem. Because I realized that if I don't have self-esteem, I can't be present. I can't be a father. I can't be a husband. I can't be there. And it starts with me. I'm responsible for my own self-esteem. Even if someone else hurt me when I was growing up, even if a parent was critical of me and wasn't my fault, or a teacher, or I was bullied by other kids, it wasn't my fault. But nevertheless, it's still my responsibility to heal myself, to be present for my children and my wife. So that's a particular example of how we have to be able to be present for our our children and our wife. Now, so this example shows us that when you say you hate me or you're angry with me, that's part of the process of emotional support, where I understand you're hating me. Well, I told you to go to bed now and you don't like me, right? Okay, I got that. I can handle that, right? Because I know I'm taking care of you. That's okay. I can handle it. I have to be bigger than my emotions. Myself, my sense of self-esteem has to be bigger than my emotions. So my mind, heart, actions, the totality of that makes up a sense of self. That self has value, and I can heal that pain of my inner child by saying, this is not my inner child being relived. This is my child who's upset. I'm okay. I'm a good father. I'm a good parent. Right now he's upset. I get that. He wants to have someone else as his father. I get it. It's okay. I can take it. We have to be able to be in the ring and be able to take the shots to the jaw, right? Why? Because I feel good about myself. I don't feel good about myself. I have to learn to become good at myself, liking myself. That's a process. Those are the 7 steps of consciousness. Let's move on to the last role play on page 34. Emotional coaching can be used both with a child's small worries or a wife's small worries and with his or her largest concerns. When a child or a wife says she can't stand life and wants to die, it's time for emotional support. How? By naming, accepting, and being with the feelings. 3 steps. Naming the feeling, accepting the feeling, and being with the feeling. A child or wife who is able to share this kind of pain with you as a husband or father needs your presence, needs your support, needs your response. Even though you may later arrange an appointment with a therapist, the person, the child or wife, is talking to you now, and you need to have some answers. Just name the feeling. You sound completely hopeless right now. Let's look at this example of extreme negative emotion more closely. Let's do this dialogue on page 34 at the handwritten note number 4. This is a very powerful, very challenging, very difficult dialogue that sometimes a depressed person does say. And I think that, like to say that sometimes we've said it. I want to die. I can't stand it. I want to end it all, right? I want to kill myself. Sometimes we say that in a moment of frustration or depression or sadness. And we have to know, if a child or a wife says that, we have to know how to handle that. We have to be bigger than it. We have to be emotionally supportive. This next dialogue is the way to do that. Let's go ahead with our dialogue, our role play at note number 4, child and parent.
I can't stand life. I want it all to end.
You sound incredibly discouraged. What's going on?
Nothing. That's the problem. Nothing's happening in my life. There's no point in living.
There's no point in living. That sounds so empty. It's like you're in a dark tunnel or something.
Black. Everything's black.
Black.
It's no use. I'll never get what I want anyway. What's the point of trying?
I see. It feels like nothing will work. So why try? Why not just give up?
Well, I can't see any other way.
Yes, I see how hopeless you're feeling right now.
So what should I do?
Do you want to see a counselor? Someone who could help you sort it all out?
Maybe.
I'll look into it for you and let you know what I find.
That was an excellent dialogue. Very emotional, both of you. Really, really powerful and very much in character. And this would have had to be, let's read on the top of the right side of page 34. This would have had to be one of the most challenging conversations a parent or husband could have had with a child or with a wife. The parent or husband will instinctively want to try to talk the child or wife out of her feelings. Don't talk like that. Never say that. Don't ever think of doing that. Suicide, depression, don't say those words here. The untrained parent will rush in with advice, warnings, and dire threats. Unfortunately, this will only cause the child or wife to clam up completely, keeping her thoughts to herself, turning inward to her own pain. The child or wife may feel criticized or abandoned rather than supported and assisted. In the above dialogue, we see that a parent or husband can support a child or wife even through deep, painful emotions. The parent or husband simply names the child or wife's feelings, the deepest feelings, write down in each of the statements, write down to the deepest feeling at the end of the dialogue, hopeless. When the child or wife has gone down to this depth of feeling, the child or wife does what most people do. They start upward again. After dad says, I see how hopeless you're feeling, the child or wife actually starts the process of problem solving. So what should I do? It's only because dad had the courage to go all the way down with him or her, and that he's able, the child is able or wife is able to start the ascent. So this idea here is that once you go all the way down to the attaching to the pain and understanding the pain and being on the same page as the person, the child or the wife, then they feel understood. They feel like you get them. Once they feel gotten, once they feel like you understand the pain, they go like this. Watch carefully. They go like this. That's emotional catharsis, emotional release. Once the breath, so the pain or the insult or the hurt is stuck in the body. It makes us tense. It makes us in pain, stressed up, hardwired, wired up, spring, like a tightly wired spring. So the emotions get stuck in the body. So emotions go down into the body, from the heart down to the body. Our job is to go from the heart up here to the wheel of strengths, to try to get the person who's in pain to, instead of going down into the body and feeling lethargic, weak, broken, sad, and crying and sobbing, although that's okay if they do that, because you can be there and give them a hug and be there for them. But nevertheless, we want to get them to move from here down to the pain up here and say, I'm with you. And the person or the child or wife will go. When you hear that audible breath, you know the person has released the pain, released the emotional turmoil, and is able to move on and say, well, can we go for a walk? Can we get an ice cream? Can I get a soup? Want to get a Slurpee? You want to get an ice cream? Want to go for a walk? You want to play baseball? Want to walk outside? Want to color? Want to play a game? Want to play Monopoly? They'll move on to problem solving. But that's only after the father, parent, husband has been able to say, I'm here for you. I know it's hard for you. You hate me. You don't like me. Oh, I see. You don't want me. You don't want me to be here right now. You're upset with me. I get that. I understand that. You want to hurt yourself. Oh, that's so sad. Instead of being afraid of these feelings, if we are present, gentlemen, if we are present with ourselves, if we are whole with ourselves, if we work on our 7 steps of consciousness and constantly work on ourselves by being present, because every single day we're going to be attacked. Every single day we're going to have an emotional challenge. There's never a time where we're going to be footloose and fancy free. Ain't happening. Why? Because that's what life's all about. We live here in the emotions. We live here in the emotional self. We live here in the turmoil, frustrations, motivations, happiness, sadness, hurt, hopelessness. All that pain is here. And when things happen in life, we get attacked, we get hurt, we get insulted, in pain. The pain is physical. We actually feel the physical pain, and it goes down into our body. Gravity pulls us down, and our job is to go up against gravity. And I brought this in my book called Stay Woke and Ignite Your Soul, where it's called the model, the like yourself model, where we're able to go against gravity and move up against the difficulty and learn how to repair the negativity. So it's in my book. I'm looking for it now. Can't find it right this second. In any event, it's the model of how to go against gravity. Instead of going with gravity into the body, go against gravity up here to access your soul state or access your wheel of strengths. So this is the system of emotional support. So now let's review the last page. And let's turn to the last page on page number 31 of the handout at handwritten note number 5. And let's review the 3 steps of how to give a wife or a child emotional support. How is this done exactly? Let's go back to the earlier positive tool number 4, emotional support. This is on page 31. Let's go back a bit. This technique of emotional support is so simple, yet unbelievably powerful. Emotional support is the skill of accompanying our child, our children, or our wife on their journey, much as our inner compassionate self accompanies us. We have to learn to be a parent to ourselves. We have to parent our inner pain. That's the steps of the 7 steps of consciousness, where I can parent my own inner child. And if I do that for myself, then I can learn to do that for my spouse. The concept was coined by Dr. John Gottman in his wonderful parenting book, Raising an Emotionally Intelligent Child. Dr. Gottman found that emotionally coached children become emotionally intelligent. They were smart about the world of feelings. They were aware of both their own feelings and the feelings of others. They could relate empathically to people and therefore have better social skills. He also found they were better able to regulate their own emotions. They demonstrated better academic performance and experienced better physical health. Just like emotionally intelligent adults, these children did better in every area of life, and they engaged in much less misbehavior than other children. What is the secret to raising emotionally intelligent children, or to have an emotionally satisfying relationship of support with a wife? Emotions. Parents and husbands acknowledge, accept, and are with their child or wife's emotions. Here is the 3 steps. Here are the 3 steps. Number 1, acknowledge. When a child or wife shows any kind of emotion, happy, sad, scared, disappointed, angry, frustrated, excited, confused, annoyed, acknowledge it. Do this by naming the feeling. For instance, say, I see that you're upset, or you look angry, or you look worried, or you're mad at me. Again, here it is. You're mad at me. Be able to handle that, because that's going to happen. Your wife or your child is going to be mad at you. And you have to be able to parent yourself and say, that's okay. I'd be mad at me too if I said you can't go out at 10 o'clock at night when it's dark. I'd be mad at you too, right? Do this by naming the feeling before saying or doing anything else. As you do this, be sure that your own facial expression and tone of voice, and our participants tonight did a fantastic job of using tone of voice and general manner of reflecting the feeling that the person, the wife or the child, is feeling. In other words, say it with feeling. For instance, in a low, slow, gentle tone. Say, I see you seem sad about that. You feel, or you seem frustrated about that. Or you feel really angry about that. I get that. Or in a strong, energetic tone, say, I can see you really don't want to go swimming. Right? Don't be fake about it. Be genuine about it. But try to reflect the feeling. The child is depressed. Say, wow, you sound really sad and depressed. Child is really adamant. Say, wow, you're really strong about that. I get that. Right? Because that mirrors the child's or wife's emotions. So number 1 is name the feeling by acknowledging it. Number 2, accept the feeling. Rather than argue with, correct, or otherwise attempt to change the wife or child's feeling, simply accept it. Oh, so you don't want pizza tonight. I understand. Which is different than saying, why don't you want pizza tonight? You love pizza. This latter statement is an attempt to get the child to change his feelings, saying, I understand, however, or I see, lets the child know you accept his feelings. So this is called negating feelings. You don't want pizza? You like pizza. Well, I'm not a person. Dr. Tversky, one of my mentors, says the following. He says, when there was a mother and a child family parents went to a restaurant. And they went to the restaurant, and the child the waiter said to the child, "So what do you want?" He says, "I want to have a hot dog, relish, chip, French fries, and a Coke." So the mother said, "Bring him a meat platter with mashed potatoes and green beans." So the waiter turned to the child and said, "Would you like relish and mustard on the side with that hot dog?" The waiter did not pay attention to the mother. He said to the child, "Do you like some relish or mustard on the side?" So the child turned to the mother and said, "He thinks I'm a real person. How about that?" The child felt recognized by the waiter because the waiter was acknowledging and relating to the child wanted a hot dog. "Give me a hot dog." "No, you can't have a hot dog. You have to have something healthy." So we have to accept and not negate a child's feelings. Doesn't mean I have to agree with what the child wants. I want to eat chocolate cake at midnight. Well, you can't have chocolate cake at midnight, right? You can't have a dinner again at midnight. You can't go out with your friends at 1:00 in the morning. "Well, I don't like you. I hate you." Okay, I understand that. It's okay. I can take it because I'm the parent. I'm responsible. I'm bigger than the pain. I'm bigger than the criticism, and I have to be able to take it. But I have to acknowledge, yeah, I see how upset you are. You really want to go with your friends at 1:00 in the morning and go to that party. I understand that. Makes sense. All the kids are doing it. Right? By the way, when they say all the kids are doing it, that means one person is doing it. All the kids have the new watch. I want one. Who are the kids? Well, one person has it. Oh, okay. Right. But all the kids have it. Oh, all the kids have this new iPad. Yeah, one kid has it. Not all the kids have it. Right. So you say, yeah, I understand you want it because everyone has it. I get that. But you don't have to agree, right? But you have to be emotionally present. So number one is acknowledge the feeling by naming it. Number two is accept the feeling. I understand that feeling. And you can also share something from your own life when you understand. So you know something? When I was a child, I wanted to go to a trip. I wanted to go on a trip to Halifax with all the guys in 10th grade. And my mother said, "There's no supervision. There's no chaperones. You're going by yourself on the train, right? I'm not letting you go. Sorry." So the idea here is that we have to understand that I can say no. I can say no, and understand why my parents said to me, "I want to go to Halifax." My parents said to me, "No, you can't go," and I was really angry at my parents, and I really thought that they were out to lunch, and I was really angry with them, but they said no. So I understand when I say no to you and you cannot go to this weekend, I understand why you're upset with me. I was upset with my parents, really, and they'll ask you questions about that incident, right? So that's okay. Tell them that you're real, that you were also a child once, and you also had incidents where you were said no to, and you didn't like your parents, or you were mad at them. Tell a story from your own life to show that you understand how they feel, that they're upset. The third dimension is be with. When feelings are strong, the parent or husband should just be with them or sit with them, with the child or the wife. Sometimes this means literally sitting beside the child or wife quietly after acknowledging and accepting a feeling. For example, suppose a child told dad in a dejected manner that he failed the science test he studied so hard for. Father can acknowledge the feeling by saying, "I can see you're very sad about that." Then he can accept the feeling by saying, "That makes sense. You studied so hard for it, and you didn't get the results you wanted." And you can say, I wasn't very good at math either. And I didn't do so well in math, but I got a tutor and it was hard for me. And I just barely got through. Really? You too, Dad? You're for real, Dad? You're real? You're not perfect? Yeah, I'm not perfect. And then the third dimension is that the father can be with or sit with the feelings by literally sitting down beside the child or the wife, putting his arm around the child's soldier or wife's shoulders without saying anything further. You don't have to say anything at that point. Why? Because then you're just allowing the person to process their feelings. Allow them to have the space to process their feelings. If they say, "I need some space right now," okay. You want me to stay here? Want me to go? You can go. Okay, so I'll go. Don't feel rejected. Don't feel rejected and set aside. You've done your job already. You've named the feeling. You acknowledged it. You accepted the feeling. Now you're with the feeling. The child wants to process, or the wife wants to process. Let them process. Give them their space. Let them be able to work it out on their own after you've learned the art of emotional support. These 3 steps: acknowledge the feeling, accept the feeling, and being with the feeling, allow the child or wife to process her feelings. They help the child or wife release her negative emotions rather than suppress them. Released emotions lead to healthy functioning, whereas suppressed emotions may be channeled into physical pain and or emotional difficulties. Released emotions are the key to emotional intelligence and all of its positive consequences. When emotions are not released, they get bottled up inside. They end up with butterflies in my stomach spasms, back pain, stress. And there's a book called The Body Keeps Score, which has a discussion of how emotions are locked in the body and how the body has physical symptoms because of these emotional pains. And therefore, we have to learn the art of having the child or wife release that pain. This is an art. So I hope that you've learned something tonight. I certainly have, in going through this again with myself and with you tonight. I've enjoyed this process of working on myself again, reminding myself that I have to be present with myself and heal myself before I can be present for my wife or my children. It's a very important reminder for myself. I'm learning as we go along here. I'm learning and growing as well. So I thank you for participating. I thank you, our participants and role players. You were excellent. You were very, very in character, very much in tune with emotions, and you acted like you were a frustrated child and also a loving, soothing parent. That was excellent. And I want us to be able to review this, learn how to keep growing and working on our emotional equanimity, our emotional intelligence by being calm ourselves, working on the 7 steps, and then using this system of acknowledge the feeling, accept the feeling, and being with the feeling. That's the art of emotional support. Hope to see you next Tuesday night. Every Tuesday night, the Better Husband, we join together on this Zoom channel for a session discussion on how to grow as a father. I am going to invite you, gentlemen, to pick up a book for next week. Next week, we're going to work on a continuation of this idea. But I want you to purchase the book called How to Talk So Children Will Listen and How to Listen So Children Will Talk. There are 2 books in this series. How to Talk So Children Will Listen and How to Listen So Children Will Talk is book number 1. The second one is for teens. How to Talk So Teens Will Listen and How to Listen So Teens Will Talk. And those principles, those books were written by Maislish, Faber and Maislish. They're available on thriftbooks.com for $2. You can buy the book, a used book, on thriftbooks.com for $2, or buy it on Amazon new for $10. Have it shipped to yourself this week. We're going to work through those examples. That gives illustrations and examples of how to be emotionally supportive. And this is the work we're going to continue to do the next couple of weeks on how to learn to be present and emotionally supportive for our wives and children. So next Tuesday night, 8:30, please, if you can join my Yisrael Roll YouTube channel and subscribe, that would be great. And I hope to see you next Tuesday night. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great night.
Thank you. Good night.